business within the UK. And that, of course, there would have to be a business plan. There would have to be things laid out properly to be clear cut as to the foreseeability and the chances of that business succeeding in the future and all that. If we have that, of course, £50,000, that's all you need from a venture capitalist. I'm also aware that there's also another one called the seeds, the investors seed, more or less like the capitalist or the venture capitalist program. The government could also, there are times the government also give grants to such people to be able to run businesses. If you have that kind of grant or kind of investment coming from third party, yes, you can also run the Tier 1 Entrepreneurs Visa application. That's the entrepreneurs. Then the investors, because you got the entrepreneurs visa, you got the investors visa. The investors visa, that would be limited because I don't believe there are so many people. I think they could be who, if you have 1 million.
So investors, the threshold is 1 million.
Threshold is 1 million. If you have £1 million, and you feel that you've invested so much as you can, you've invested so much abroad in your country of origin, and you want to actually find a way of investing in the UK. Into bonds, shares, and so many other financial instruments that you might be able to invest into in the UK.
Or even buying a football club or something.
Why not? You could then invest in such ventures, and again, the opportunities are there for you, and they are limitless. Because if you are an investor here, after 3 years, you could apply for indefinite leave to remain, and possibly after a year or so, or even before the end of that year, you were granted indefinite leave to remain. You could also apply for citizenship of the UK, so long as you're a person of good character, and they feel that here is somebody we actually want to have in our country. You could apply for that. And I think the reasoning, the logic and reasoning behind it is just to encourage people to come and invest, really, and to put money here and to employ, because anybody who is invested in the UK, either as an investor or an entrepreneur, you would have to employ British citizens, at least 2 British citizens, to be able to work for you as an entrepreneur in the UK. So the more of such people they have, the more they know for sure that they would have to employ British citizens and run their business at the same time. Hence the reason why I think the government is now encouraging as many people as possible to do that, to invest in the UK.
I mean, I see that as a fast track for investors and entrepreneurs, which is good, is good. But also, we've got several people who are not investors, they're not entrepreneurs, but they've been here, they found themselves here at some point in their life, and they're trying to get their settlement visas. What are the changes?
Settlement visas. There are a few changes actually. The changes that come to mind quite distinctly. First of all, in the past, when people used to apply for indefinite leave to remain, settlement applications, even if you have a criminal conviction, it will still be left to the discretion of the Home Office to conclude as to whether you would be allowed to remain in the UK indefinitely or not, particularly if the conviction is not particularly serious conviction, maybe a driving offence, or maybe you are a person of good character over the years, and all of a sudden you found yourself maybe not having an insurance or things like that. So long as you disclose that conviction, in the past, the Home Office would want to use discretion. Say, look, let's look at the antecedents of this very particular person. Over the years, he has not actually offended in any way or in any form, but this is just a one-off, a kind of odd situation where he would normally, this is out of character. Let's let it go and grant indefinitely to remain. But recently, I think it came into force late last year, I think, or early this year. If you if there's any conviction, unspent conviction,
Okay.
even if you are a person of good character in the past, you would, even if you apply for indefinite leave to remain after so many years in this country, or if you've been married to your spouse, and now you want to apply for indefinite leave to remain, you would not be granted indefinite leave to remain, I'm afraid. That's been taken out. So the only option that person would have is, even if that person has a family, for instance, if you're married and you have a family, or you've been living in the UK for so many years based on private life, and family life in the UK, you may have to then continue to apply for further leave to remain, not indefinite, because of that conviction. There's that change. There's a change to do with the spouses, who a spouse who initially, if that spouse was 18 years old, this was the past rule, so long as you are age of majority, and you now want to marry maybe a lady or a gentleman in the UK, maybe who is about 25, 30, so long as that kid is 18, age of majority, you could now, in the past, you would then be able to marry because you are classified as an adult. But the government actually changed the rules sometimes last year, I think July last year, and what the government is now saying, that very particular policy is saying that we would only allow spouses coming into the UK, or even within the UK, who want to get married to a person present and settled in the UK. The only time we would allow that to happen is that spouse would have to be 21 years old.
Okay, so 21 and above.
And above.
Not the 18 that above was accepted before.
Yes. And they ran with it for a while. They got away with it for a while. But I think it was challenged.
And rightly so.
Rightly so, because that would, it smacks of discrimination, really. And in December, I think the Court of Appeal concluded, and rightly so, that that policy is an unlawful policy. Unlawful in the sense that age of majority is age of majority. If you are not to raise that age of majority for British citizens who want to actually marry another British citizen or a person who has settlement in the UK, you're raising that very particular age range for a person present in the UK, just because of the fact that this person has an immigration situation, is deemed to be discriminatory. So that was deemed to be illegal. And we initially were not sure what the government would be doing with that very particular decision, but they've now, I think that was granted in January or so. March. They've now been able to obtain permission. That's the UK Border Agency Home Office, to obtain permission to appeal to the Supreme Court, challenging the Court of Appeal ruling.
So that's still pending.
That's still pending. That's still extant. And until that is concluded, I'm afraid the 21 years still runs. So you need to actually be 21 years before you could marry.
Try and marry.
Marry a person settled in the UK, either abroad or in this country. Now. That's another rule. There's also the change to do with the.
I know there's so many changes. But what I'm going to do right now is that I want to go on a commercial break. But before I go, I just want to remind you. When we come back, we're going to be talking about students and also other categories. So if you're a student, don't go away. We're just going on a quick commercial break, and we shall continue speaking about immigration. So please stay tuned.
Events ètò tó gbajúgbajà bó jẹ́ ìkómọ, ọjọ́ ìbí tàbí ètò ìgbéyàwó.